Hi guys, in our webinar series, continuing from our last webinar series on best practices for monetization, we are going to start another webinar today on SEO essentials. In this webinar, we will be talking about mostly the SEO aspects with respect to tech as well as the content part. So we'll be talking mostly about how you can improve your tech SEO as well as content SEO. Being a Hocalwire media publishers, tech SEO aspect is taken care by Hocalwire, but we would still go through details on what is important from SEO aspects and what is important from an content SEO aspect in terms of what you should do, what you should not do, what is the right practice, what is the right way of doing content. So we'll get more details into it. Let me jump start. Can you share the slides, please? Yeah. So we are talking about two parts: content and technical SEO. Content SEO essentially defines what you do as a publisher on the website, and tech SEO defines how part of it. What it would mean is that when I write an article, the publisher's website is all about publishing content to users. What exactly you write, what exactly your user consume, what is your message you want to pass across, what is the information you want to pass across, what is the audience you want to target, what is the segment you want to target, what is the category you want to target, what is the geography you want to target, is all defined by your content. So essentially content talks about what part of your brand, what part of your publishing website, whereas the tech SEO essentially talks about how you achieve what you want to achieve, how part of it, how you make sure that your users are getting the right message, the message you are passing. How do you ensure that your search engines who's coming to understand your content, crawl your website, is able to understand your content structure properly? How you ensure that the searches happening on the website, so essentially three entities which are talking to your websites: the user, the content creators, and the machines, all should understand the content properly is defined essentially using your tech SEO part, the how part. Let me get a bit deeper into it. So the important aspects of a content SEO essentially will be like what part of the content will be the content types. First and foremost, what all content you are doing. Are you doing a content related to an entertainment segment? Are you doing a content related to a sports segment? Are you doing hardcore news? Are you a fact checking platform? Are you a listing platform? Are you a medical related platform, legal platform, different genres? So multiple criteria defines what all different content types you do. First thing is defining your content nature, whether I'm in a sports website or say entertainment website. Even further drilling down on the content types, we should also talk about the further content presentation. So if suppose that I am a sports website, I can still talk about sports as in videos, sports as in imaginary articles, sports as in text format articles, so different formats. So content type, if I am an entertainment platform, am I talking about movie reviews, am I talking about the profiles of actors, am I talking about the news breaking across? So different content types is very important. As a publisher you should freeze on that, you should define as a strategy, as an SEO, what is going to reach maximum to the machines and users in your content type. Second aspect of an content SEO is listing versus landing. So the aspect basically here I'm trying to point out is that are you focusing on a listing kind of platform where you talk about a lot of listings, or are you focusing on a landing platform more like a detailed landing pages? So the difference between listing and landing page in a layman language is: a category is a listing page, a search is a listing page, a horoscope is a listing page. A landing page essentially is the detail page of that particular listing, the product description, a news article, a movie review, a restaurant detail, so anything, a food detail, a recipe detail, Anything you do as in publishing content or fact checking platform is a landing page. So when you're doing in content SEO, looking at content SEO, you should also look at what you are trying to do. Are you trying to optimize listing or a landing pages for an SEO outreach? Third foremost point comes as an heading, which is what defined a landing page or even for a listing page. Headlines. Headlines are H1s or headlines are one of the key factors for what to show on the search engine for your content. So you need to keep a very, I'll get into details of each of these further while we move into webinar. But I'm listing down the important aspect. Second is after headlines, you should take care of paragraphs, the description, the messaging, the snippet, the excerpts of your story, what you're trying to tell. Then you also need to talk about the meta signals you are sending to different platforms. So, for example, I may want to tell a different style of my story on social media platform. I may want to use a different image, different video, different featured image, different caption for Twitter, different tagging for Facebook, depending on how the users on different platforms consume my content. So the meta is very important story, is important aspect of your story. Then obviously your story body is where you write the entire article, where you write the entire review, where you write the entire fact check. Keywords is essentially what you will be focusing on while writing that article. So in the SEO world, keyword are the most important thing people think, and that is right. Keywords essentially, I will get into details of how you should write a good keywords, but keywords is what drives your story. You are writing a story, you are writing a fact checking blog, you are writing a movie review because you are thinking of targeting certain keywords which audience would be searching on machines, basically search engines, maybe Google, Bing, or whatever it is. Then you should also look at the aspect of your content length, how big your content should be, whether it should be small content, 300 words, 500 words, long format story. You should also look at your resources, media, essentially talking about are you using an image, multiple images, the image sizes, the image formats, the cropping of the image, the editing of the image. All those aspects are very important for an SEO. If I talk about number, 30% around traffic comes from a lot of image searches. So if you are having a good image, that may drive a lot of traffic to you. Then next part, what you need to look at as in content SEO aspect is attribution. When you are writing a content, understand that you are not the only contributor to that content. You might be fetching a lot of information from a lot of different sources. Attribute them. If you are having, say, a reference from Wiki, attribute that article to Wiki. If you are having authors doing multiple authors doing your story, most important aspect to that is attribute your stories to authors, because that increases your credibility. I've seen a lot of publishers who doesn't want to attribute a lot of stories to authors, telling that their brand name is diminished. Bit differ from that. I feel that every story attribution should be given to an author, so that the credibility of your story and the ownership of your story is shared and is distributed. Last but not least, the webmaster. Webmaster essentially talks about how you have performed in SEO world. You should keep visiting webmaster, understand what is the information available in webmaster for you, how you can leverage that information to improve the previous keywords or previous things I've explained. Webmaster will give you a snapshot of what is happening, and you need to consider that and act accordingly. Now, looking at the tech aspects of SEO, what is the important in terms of when you're implementing SEO from a tech point of view? First thing is when your article is posted, I'm talking about website here. So when article is posted, how your URL structure should be, the landing page URL or the listing page URL, how it should be created for a better understanding to the search engine. Second is how your pages are interlinked, how your page depth is defined. Breadcrumb is how your breadcrumbs are basically the defining your depth of the pages, the tree structure of pages, where we have a home page at the root of the page, and then how it's getting structured in a tree manner. uh, how then within the page, how we are defining the paragraph, the H1, the H2s, the H3s, the page size of that page structure, then page size, whether the page size is small, big, what is the average page size you should be considering when creating an SEO friendly website? What is the page speed? Page speed essentially means multiple factors. I will go in details, but what essentially page speed means in your page should render fast to the user. Please remember, Google also keep repeating this. You are building the website for users, not for the search engines. Search engine should be treated like an user. If your website is not good for your user, just making it good for search engine is not going to help you. So page speed is important not just from the search engine perspective but from an user perspective as well. Then we also need to look at the rendering, the visibility aspect of the website. I'll get details of it. Then supporting multiple schemas, which essentially tells search engine that what content you are using, what are the different parameters of contents. If you're writing a news article, what is the news article headline, what is the author, what are the essential branding names, SEO, social handles you are using. So if you're writing a movie review schema, who's the director, actor, so depends on the different content types. You need to talk about schemas in the tech aspects. Then webmaster core web vitals is another very important aspect for tech SEO, where you need to talk about handling your sitemaps, handling your time to first byte, and things like that. Another aspect of a tech SEO implementation is your AMP pages, your canonical URLs, duplicate content, and then managing all those your page structure, whom to block, whom to allow, whom not to allow using robots, no index, no follow. So I've listed down mostly the tech and content SEO aspect. Now I'll be going in details of it. You guys can ask me any question in respective Facebook or YouTube channel. I will get to answer them in the end. So let's look at text structure, page linking, breadcrumb. Ideally, I have taken an example here. Ideally, your tree structure should look like in a depth manner, where you have a domain as a root, home page. Then essentially you should be having a landing page, then listing page, and then landing page. Your slug should look, the URL structure should look like this. If you look at the live law sample I have given on the above, first we are talking about livelaw.in as an home. Then we are talking about the category, top level category, news updates, and then the slug of the article, which explains the uh, the crux of what is happening in the article in the heading itself. And then in the end we are appending an ID, which is an optional parameter, but that becomes very crucial when we are trying to change this URL slug multiple times and still able to identify as an same URL again and again, able to direct user to that based on a news ID. So ideal structure for your landing page should be in this tree structure manner. We are talking about home may have multiple multiple childs as a category, we call them listing. And then the landing. Now the listing could be a category page, could be a location page, could be an author page, could be a search page. And then the landing page, if you are just building an UGC driven content, you may not have a category, you may just be talking about authors and then their stories. So but your depth of the structure should be in that fashion, that it should always be in tree structure for a better SEO outreach. I've seen certain platforms who talks about creating home and then landing directly without using the listing in the URL. But I strongly recommend that you should also have a listing as part of your URL, so that search engine understand your depth of the website, understand your structure, page linking, and breadcrumb, and it will be able to crawl it better. Now, second part of the page is having the page structure itself. Right now I'm talking about all the tech SEO aspects, and if you have any questions, keep posting to me. This will essentially is all handled by Hocalwire within our CMS. But if you are not from Hocalwire, or if you want to understand how things are done at Hocalwire, I'm just running it through. So ideally, from a page structure point of view, first for the page is always the main heading. Now, a lot of times, home page doesn't have a main heading. We call it H1. So what we generally do is home page will always have a breaking stories or a big stories, and we generally make the first article on that home page or the title or the image of that article as an H1. Second is subsequently are the subheadings, which should be your S2 part of the page, be it a listing page, be it a home page, be it a landing page. Your page structure should always follow this H1, S2, S3 paragraph structure. Wherever you are having links, whether it's an internal or external, they should be following an anchor. Wherever they are having an heading, they should follow this structure, so that search engine understand without even giving a schema that this is the page structure. If schema is not given, this is the way search engine understand how your page is structured, and this is the structure we have to follow for headings and subheadings. And then for the description and stories, we will use the paragraph bullet points, that I will get into details once I go for the content SEO part as well. Second comes the page size, the speed and rendering. So obviously, lesser the page size, lesser is the best, because we are still having users on 3Gs, and some places still the speed of 3G is not more than 2G. So if the lesser the page size, your page will load fast on the slower devices. Even if the devices are having good bandwidth, lesser page size helps you rank better. So always try to reduce your page size as low as possible. Second aspect of this is bundling all your essential resources which are above the fold. What it would mean is that whenever I load a website, I should not be seeing a broken website and then correcting it while it loads. The first view of the website to me should always be proper. It should not be broken. So include or bundle all your above the fold resources upfront while you are rendering the website. Third foremost point for the page speed is first byte time. Essentially what it would mean is that when I hit an URL, and the first pixel I start seeing on the website is called time to first byte, which is very important aspect. There are technologies like CDN, which helps a lot in terms of improving this first byte, because it's a combination of how your server response time is improved. And then suppose I'm sitting from a place where my server is hosted in another country, then there are a lot of delay in understanding and reaching request to server. Then DNS lookup is there. So to improve all that, there's something called CDN, content delivery network, which caches all your pages and render fastest in fastest manner to your nearest audience server. So first byte time is very important a tech point of view for the speed, and CDN helps in that. We are also having something called render blocking resources. What essentially would mean is, once I start seeing the website, I should actually see the content. I should not be waiting for the content to render. I started seeing a blank website, but then I am not seeing able to see anything in here. CSS, JavaScript, fonts is the biggest killer to that aspects. One simple example I mentioned here is a font display called Swap. What it would mean is that if I'm writing in Hindi website or in Malayalam website, and I'm using a Malayalam font, now until that font file is loaded and rendered, I will not be seeing any pixel of the website, in spite of my website is ready to be rendered. So that creates a bad user experience. You may be seeing a blank white website for say half second or 1 second because of this problem. As a developer, as a technology, as a tech, we should handle these problems and ensure that user experience is the best. We should also preload certain resources, be it fonts, be it CSS, be it images, so that the user experience for the user is the best. Whenever users see a web page, he should see a predefined web page. We also use technologies like tags like pre-connect, pre-fetch, to avoid a lot of lookup times for your different external entities. We might be fetching certain data from Google, like your ad servers. We might be fetching data from Facebook. We might be fetching data from different vendors if it is DFP ad manager. So we should be pre-connecting with all these domains, and we should not be waiting for the actual action to go and connect, because an average DNS lookup time is also in some milliseconds, which can be avoided upfront. And when the user starts seeing the web page, the experience is seamless, is the whole point. And same applies for the search engine consider this factor. So essentially understand, search engine evaluate your website how user would pursue it. Make your website best for user, search engine will automatically rank you properly. Now coming back to the schema part, which is very important in terms of how search engine understand your content. One was the page structure. Page structure makes search engine understand only what is your headline, what is your sub headline, what is your paragraph and all. Now schema are the one which explains search engine, this is how my page is divided. So if I'm talking about an home page essentially will have a schema called organization, a schema called web page. This is an home page. A schema called navigation list, a schema called images, videos if they are on home page. But if I go to an article page will have much more component. It will have an article schema or a news article schema. It will have an author schema. It may have if it is a fact checking article, it may have a fact check schema. If it is a review or rating article, it will have a review rating schema. If I am writing a live blog as an article, it will have a live blog schema. If I am writing as an FAQ article, it can have a FAQ schema. We can have multiple schemas. This list of schemas we are talking about is only for the news articles. Then we can have different customized parameters content. We call them custom content, and we can build multiple schemas here. I have given few samples here. We can build a movie schema. We can build a database of all the movies, their reviews, their actors, producers, and multiple images, video galleries. And we can write the schemas around it to make search engine understand that this whole web page is talking about a movie review which contains 5 actors, 2 producers, one director, probably a video gallery, probably a user rating, so that when that page get crawled, search engine should be able to understand all the data available on that page, which is not possible just by using your H1 or H2 tag. Schemas are the most essential part for search engine to understand, because ultimately they are machines. They cannot understand everything from an HTML. So they have a predefined format, predefined objects, and you need to build it. You can go to Hocalwire websites. You can test any article schema. If you want to go for a movie review schema, we have a couple of publishers doing that. If you want to do a product schema, if you're talking about a product, maybe it's in like one of our platform called Medical Dialogues, talking about drugs, talking about salts, they are product schemas. So you can build a content and then let search engine understand your content. If you're talking about events which is happening in some places or sometime, you can define an event schema so that it comes into your event listing on the search engines. You can also talk about company schema if you are a manufacturing company, or if you are a different kind of company. So it depends on what kind of content or database or the listing you are building. You can define certain schemas which is pre-approved by schema.org, and you can define using Hocalwire schemas to tell the search engine that this is my content. You can have location related schema, place related schema. You can have person schema like authors, like painters, like bloggers, like whatnot. Then you can have creative work schemas defined for if you are doing some creative work, you are doing job posting, and any other kind of custom schema. So idea is for an SEO, if you are not having schema in your web page and just implementing your web page and expecting search engine to understand it properly, it is very difficult, because search engine end of their machines. They doesn't have that human intelligence that a name written here by byline is an author. You need to tell them in search engine some form. Some part of the page they will understand, some part of the page they will not understand. And if your content is really structured, really not a news article, really a different kind of content. Like I have one other platform called Medical Dialogue, which talks about different content. I have a platform called India Food Network, which talks about recipes. I have a platform called Hans India that talks about restaurant listings, movie reviews. So there are multiple publishers who are doing content, not just news articles, but different variety of it. And for them to rank in search engines like Boom does very good fact checking platform. Boom does, there are around 10 fact checking platform Hocalwire has, and all them are using fact checking schema, so that Google knows that it's a fact checking platform. And when you, fact checking article, and when you go and that search that article on search engine, you get to see the snippet of it, that this is not a normal article, this is a fact checking article, fact checked by Boom, or fact checked by Logical Indian, or fact checked by whatever the publishers who's publishing that, and the fact checking result. So without getting into the details of an article, you get a snapshot and you get to rank it in the places which is defined for that targeted audience. Maybe it's a movie listing. If it is a movie review, you can get to see the star rating upfront in the search list page listing itself, because of the review schema and rating schema. So schemas are the key. Remember that if you go check your website whether it is having all the correct schemas or not, compare with local wires, but schemas are the key for your tech SEO to be ranking properly. Now, Another part of tech aspects is sitemaps, essentially another hint to tell Google. So first I'm talking about how Google understand my web pages from the internal linking, the tree structure we talked about. The second hint to the Google is sitemap. So for certain pages, if they are not interlinked, or if they are interlinked, so for example, if I publish an article 15 days back, it may not be available on my homepage. It may not be available on first 2 3 pages of my listing. Then how do I tell Google that this article is indexed? I mean, this article existing and I'm updating it. There is a way to tell hint to Google called sitemap. So sitemap is also very essential part for your tech SEO, to have a list of all the articles. Maybe not all the articles, that's up to you, but list of all the articles which are getting updated in certain period time. You can define your properties. You should also look at your indexing, uh, indexing on how the indexing is going to happen for your landing pages or listing pages. What is the crawl budget you have, what is the crawl rates you have, what are different errors you have. This is all available in your webmaster. So webmaster will give you all the snippets of what is happening in terms of your indexing, in terms of a sitemap. Lot of times I see publishers complaining me that I am having article in Google but not shown indexed in sitemap. Is possible because there are a lot of times Google is able to reach out to your page without even looking at the sitemap. It's possible that way because uh, sitemap essentially gives the hint. There are a lot of times it so may so happen that you are just having articles crawled but not indexed. That's another issue. A lot of publishers fails with the error called crawled but not indexed. That's something Google decide to not show your article index based on different parameters of your website, maybe domain authority, maybe keyword, maybe ranking. But crawled is something what we should ensure that articles are crawled. Indexing is something entirely depends on Google. Other vital aspects of the tech is TTFB. I was talking about this time to first byte earlier, which is very important. You should be considering TTFB as a key factor, and that gets improved by if a lot by CDN, a lot by your server response time. So if you are sitting in India and your servers are also sitting in India, or I'm sitting in Mumbai, my servers are sitting in Mumbai, it is may so happen that I will get response very fast. But if I'm sitting in US and my servers are sitting in Mumbai, there will be at least 1.5 second delay to get the response, because there will be DNS lookup, handshake, data transfer. To avoid that kind of delay, we use a CDN. Second part of the web vitals comes is a CLS, which is cumulative layout shift. What it would mean is that your web page, when it start rendering for user, it should not shake, neither horizontally nor vertically, mostly vertically, because it may so happen that I am having a heading which says uh, click here to join X group, and suddenly I was about to click that and another ad pops in that place, and I by mistakenly clicks on the ad. So I am hampering the user intention. It is very strictly not allowed or not recommended from SEO guidelines to have a higher CLS. Your page layout should not shift a lot. The best is 0, but if it is less than zero point 0.1 second in a cumulative value, it is called green in Google. If it is more than 0.25 second, it's a red flag from Google. Third biggest aspect, biggest factor is LCP, largest contentful paint. This is again quite close to TTFB. So TTFB essentially talks about getting your first byte. LCP talks about defining what is the largest contentful paint, or what is the component on the above the fold we are rendering is taking time. So if I'm having a web page which talks about my menu, my navigation, then heading, and then image, it may so happen that image will load and render and paint, and that will take some time. So most of the time images are the LCPs if they are above the fold. But images are, if images are not the LCPs, largest contentful paint, then sometimes these are the headings. Headings essentially would be painting because of the font change, repainting. They will be repainting because of font change. If we are not using any font and using system default font, it may so happen that heading will be taking the browser's default font and render. But suppose we are doing a Malayalam website or an Telugu website and we are using a font we will be basically re-rendering that component. So the largest contentful paint will be defined by the re-rendered value of that paragraph. Ideally, LCP should not be more than 2.5 second, 0.25, 2.5 second. Again, to improve LCP, CDN is a big guy who can help in this if your resources are loaded fast. So essentially, the problem with all these things is if the font is a culprit to higher LCP, the font maybe we are using two three fonts to render certain part of it. Maybe using rendering a title as well as paragraph and using two different fonts. On an average, if the font file is say 600 KB, so essentially I'm trying to load 1.2 Mbps upfront to render certain characters. So font could be one big factor for LCP. If I'm using CDN, probably I can reduce the download time. So that's the reason, if you look at big publishers, they all uses CDN to improve these factors. And then again, render blocking resources. I should not be using my render blocking resources above the fold. I should be lazy loading them, delete them, or bundle them upfront, preload. I should not be basically waiting for certain components to load and read. Please ask your questions if you have any. I will be answering them in the end of the session. Another aspect of tech is MP pages canonical duplicate content. I get to ask. I a lot of publishers ask this question. I've been asked this question multiple times. What is duplicate content? Will I get a duplicate content error or not? So understand how the canonical works. Canonical essentially would mean that I may have 10 versions of my landing page or listing page or any page, but if they are all pointing to same canonical, that means search engine will understand the base page or the primary page for that data is the one defined in canonical. AMP is another version of your web page. You can have an app light page. Earlier UC browser used to have a UC version of the page. So you can have multiple pages, but your canonical should point to one single URL, and that is generally your landing page or listing page primary URL, right? So it is very important to understand what is canonical and how to handle that. This question keep coming to me about the duplicate content a lot of time, and I would say whenever you see there are two pages you think are duplicate in content, a lot of time what people do is they will use upper cases, lower cases in heading, and they will not know whether the content is duplicate or not. So understand, match your canonical, whether the different pages have the same canonical. Then next part of this is I'm talking about a listing page. What is the pagination I'm going to use? There are terms called rel, previous, and next, which will tell search engines that this is the previous page for the current listing page. So I can have a pagination, and then I can define and tell search engine that okay, I'm talking about the second page of my listing, third page URL is this, previous page URL this, so that by any chance of if the search engine lands on the 10th page, they should know what is the ninth page and what is the 11th page. Then I talked about duplicate content. Then I talked about alternate canonical. Yeah, if you look at this new report in the webmaster, which is called pages, and you will see all your MP pages now are called in marked with a flag called alternate canonical page is available. What it would mean is that earlier Google used to give AMP pages a treatment, priority treatment, which it is not giving anymore, and it started telling that AMP pages are the duplicate page of your actual page, which is your 1 minute, yeah, which is essentially your primary page and which is defined through canonical. Though understand this is not an error. When Google says it found an another canonical page for this page, it's not an error. It's telling that you have two versions of your page. I understand both of your page, but primary indexing page is not this one. You can still see your MP pages are available under the AMP tab in the webmaster, but that's not an error. You can always manage multiple versions of pages in a web with single canonical. Then we talk about last part of the tech SEO is robots index no follow. So you should manage all the pages which you don't want to get indexed. For example, I don't want to get my search page indexed because user can write any random queries and get random results, and I will end up creating millions of pages for search. So generally, I don't prefer to get my search page index, rather than I will have predefined tags pages or listing pages to be indexed. So I can manage what not to be indexed by using robots.txt. I can exclude my Ajax pages. I can exclude my pages with query param based. Then there's something called 404.410. Essentially means not found or permanently deleted. Depending on my call, I can again assign these status to the pages so that a search engine does not waste its resources or its budget to basically index the pages which we don't want search engine to index. So I can control all that using crawl budget, using no follow, no index, by marking external pages which I think should not be followed, because once if you have a link, Google will follow that link. You can use external pages, no follow. You can handle this. I was talking about this crawl but not index issue, right? All right. So this was from the tech SEO point of view. What are different things we should consider while doing the SEO from a tech side of things? Now let me talk about the SEO from the content side of things. This is very important for publishers, because this is what you guys would be doing. Whatever I have talked so far is something we as a CMS would be doing, or anything anyone in the CMS provider. If it is WordPress, probably will have a Yoast plugin to do that. Whereas different CMS should be doing this. If they are not, reach out to your CMS partner and ask them why this is all not taken care. Still understand the SEO is in very ocean, and not everything is understood by everyone, and Google keep changing a lot of things, so you have to be aligned with what they are doing. Coming back to content SEO, whenever we write an article, the first important thing is the title of the article. What is the ideal length of a title? What is the maximum pixel density you should use? So we have given what is the description. So title and description, the length of the content title, what should be. So ideally, your article title should not be more than 60 to 70 characters. It should be crisp. It should talk about the message you want to communicate upfront. Because understand, this article gets shared in social media, gets shared on WhatsApp, gets shared on multiple different platforms. And when they get shared, if your message is not clear, then people may not click on it itself. Secondly, search engine will not like it if the article title is not aligned with what users are searching. Though people have this mechanism of doing clickbaiting. So what they will do is they will have a different title for user, but while sharing it on social media, they will have a different titles. That's the concept is called clickbait, where you are compelling users to click on it by creating an ambiguous title. That's also publishers doing something. But ideally, for good SEO outreach, your title should not be really big. It should restrict. Similarly, your description or the H2 tags should also restrict to certain length. I mentioned here, ideally the title should be 30, 60 to 70 characters, and description should be 70 to 130 characters. Nothing more than that. If it goes to 155, 160 is fine. Post that, it won't be SEO friendly. And if you look at, say, Facebook card, you will see if you provide a big title or big description in your OG tags, Facebook itself trim it and shows the essential part of it. So if your essentials are not covered in the first, you will probably lose out on the messaging. Second is, when I'm writing a content, what is that I should be focusing on? So keywords should always be based on the intent. I should not be using keywords which, I mean, I should not be using too many verbs, too many adjectives in the title. I should be talking about mostly nouns. So nouns and the which clear the proper phrases, proper the message, right? I should be using the words or phrases in such a way that my message is clear. So my intent should be clear. So I should be using transactional or commercials messages in the title itself. For example, I'm talking about a book called, say, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So I should be talking about the book name, and probably the writer as a title. I should not be talking about the adjectives to it, the verb to it. For example, another example I can cite out right now is Modi visiting Varanasi, right? It's very much clear. This message about Modi visiting Varanasi, or Modi is talking about demonetization. demonetization declared, right? These are the small crisp title. Rather than telling a title like what happened on 8th November when Modi came online at 8 p.m. That will be very ambiguous title and not at all SEO friendly, right? So our title should be very intent based keywords. It should not be having lot of ambiguity. It should not be using very generic words into it. It should always be focused. So what exactly is the keyword we should be talking about and where we will be using these keywords? So if I identified that I am talking about the demonetization story, so demonetization is my primary keyword. Who declared demonetization? Probably is Narendra Modi I want to use, or the government of India. So I should be very sure of two to three keywords I want to use in this article. What should be the placement of those keywords? First is in the URL itself. I was showing you in the tech aspect of a content, the slug. Slug should always contain your primary keyword as early as possible. So your primary keyword should not go to the end. Your article should always start with primary keyword, so that whenever I as an engine I encounter the first word, I know, okay, this is what it's talking about. Obviously the keyword should also be in the first 100 words of an article. And a keyword is called keyword when it is used at least three times minimum in the article body. If I just write one paragraph with different words, another paragraph with different keywords, another paragraph with different keywords, search engine will never understand what exactly is the keyword in this. Because for them to identify the keyword, they need to see the recurrences of the word or recurrences of the messages, so that they understand that okay, you are talking about this topic or focusing on this topic, right? So your keyword density in article should be very meaningful. And please use vernaculars, multilingual keywords. So it is better that you, if you're writing in Hindi article, you're also using English keywords for that same Hindi keywords, synonyms. I mean, basically, whatever the translation or synonyms for that in Hindi keyword is, because users might be searching, even Hindi users might be searching on Google in English. So Google should understand, okay, if I'm talking about Narendra Modi, I'm talking about demonetization. In Hindi, it's demonetization. On English, in Hindi, it's notebandi. In English, demonetization. So I should be talking about notebandi bracket demonetization, notebandi bracket demonetization, so that people searching either of them should get my article listed. Then you should also talk, while creating article, you should also have a keyword list that I'm talking about demonetization, I'm talking about 8th November as a date, I'm talking about Narendra Modi as a prime minister, right? So I can have three, four different combination of keyword, and then using multilingual keyword to research what is the keyword. There are multiple tools. There's something called Google Suggest. Then there's certain other tools I've listed called Our Suggest, Screen Font, uh, Flick Cover tools. There are a lot of other tools, you can easily search it. There's one more easy way to do it. If you're thinking that I don't know what exactly the keyword people are searching, go to Google and search for the keyword you want to put in your article. And below the article you will see some suggested words that Google is also suggesting some keywords. Those are essentially the keywords or the phrases people are searching on Google related to that topic. So you can always take a hint from Google search page itself to do a proper keyword. Then we also talk about, once we talk about sorted out the keywords, we should also look at the meta tags of the SEO. So your primary keywords near the beginning of title, when I keep stressing this, your keyword, whatever the primary keyword is, it should always be in start of your URL, of your article title, of your paragraph somewhere in early 100 words or 150 words, of your article body as well in the first paragraph. Keep title short, crispy, so that it doesn't get cut off in search results. I mean, there's an example of Yoast I have taken here. There are a lot of times people do a mistake of making keyword fancies by using all these caps, small combo. Please write a proper grammatically and punctually correct, basically correct titles. They should not be having random upper caps, small letters, caps letter characters. Use proper letter spacing, use proper characters while building your title. Give each page a unique title. If you're talking about three different stories on demonetization itself, give a proper message that one story is about demonetization being declared, another story could be probably the problems people face during demonetization, third story could be what exactly happened after demonetization. So whatever you are writing, write your title in a unique fashion that Google should understand these all belongs to demonetization, but all are basically talking about a different communication, different messaging. So you should not, I mean, you should not be using same title in two different stories. Otherwise, you will qualify for duplicate content because the canonicals here will be different. So write clear, compelling titles that user will want to click on. uh, write crispy, clear cut titles. Okay, my intent is defined. I want this user who's talking about X topic should click on this. It should not be very ambiguous. I mean, you can try that, but that's not a search engine friendly. It's like there are a lot of time people use what if that happened, right? So what if doesn't works well with search engines. Search engines loves nouns. Please use nouns in your title as much as you can. Include your primary keyword in your meta description when someone search for that keywords. I mean, I've talked about this again and again. Keep your meta description to a certain defined length. Craft your meta description so that it is accurately describe the page. Again, important part, because your titles are small in nature. So second opportunity you get is to define what your title is. Now a lot of time what people do is they will repeat the title in the description. Never do that. So when I say, who are you? I am Ashwani Mishra. And then if the next sentence also I say I am Ashwani Mishra, that look stupid. The next sentence when we talk describe Ashwani Mishra, then I should say Ashwani Mishra is the co-founder of Hocalwire or whatever it is, right? So you should never copy back your title into description. Define description is basically defining your story, defining your title, and then story is actually writing the full detail of it. So three opportunities you get to define your story: title, description, and body. Make them unique. Don't replicate what you have written. Write in such a way that search engine understand, okay, this is what the message is, and it should be in hierarchical manner, like top to down approach, waterfall, right? Another important aspect while writing your content is tagging your headlines. So you can use multiple headers, H1, H2, S3 tags. I don't recommend using H1 tags. There should be only one in page, and mostly that will be handled by your CMS. But if you are creating a page where CMS is not introducing any H1, then you should put one H1. H2 tags are all the places wherever you're having headings or you want to define certain style sheet or certain highlights to user. You can use S2, S3, S4 tagging. Very important so that your story is understood. Understand, search engine is coming to your platform to understand how user will see your content. So make your website user friendly, ready for users. Search engine will essentially accept that. If you make something only for search engine and not for user, your website will not rank good in any search engine. So follow that mantra. Try to keep your basically formatting of your page, like if you are having a big paragraph, split into multiple paragraphs so that user engagement is there. When user reads it, they have a proper span of time. Even search engine like that, when they read the content, they should, okay, there's a paragraph, then there's a visual, probably a graph, image, or an embed which defines the next aspect. Then probably if I'm talking about the listicles or pointers, I should be using bullet points, because search engine understand all these HTML tags which are standard. So if I'm using an S2, S3, S4, search engine understands. And heading I'm talking about, if I'm using order list, unordered list like ULLI tags, they'll understand they are talking about bullet points, tables. So structure your page based on the information. Don't start stuffing everything into a single paragraph or just paragraph. Your content formatting should be proper. Content writing, SEO friendly content. I've been talking about this entire session. Write your concise, compelling instruction. Clearly articulate the problem. So if you're writing about any topic, first, it's like the article writing is like a conversation you are having with your user. So understand what he wants to read, or put it like in a question to answer manner, not in terms of format but in terms of hierarchy. That if I'm talking about information, I should first define the context and then explain the solution or the information I want to put in. I should be talking about breaking up my sections into multiple pieces so that it's user friendly. I should also talk about having my targeted keyword stuff properly. in a coherent manner. It should not be that I'm talking something else and suddenly I just stuff my keyword. The keyword should be meaningful and get aligned grammarly in the paragraph. A paragraph should have a proper grammar, proper punctuations, and things like that. Align your content with search intent. I've been speaking about this. So understand whatever the keyword you write. I'll give one example. uh, we both understand Supreme Court and SC. Supreme Court is a keyword and SC is also a keyword, but we need to understand this, whether Supreme Court is the right keyword or SC is the right keyword. If I have to give an example, I would say Supreme Court. If I go to search volumes and see what people are searching, i would see I would see that Supreme Court has at least 200 times more volume for search than SC. So when writing keywords or using keyword, I should know what exactly the user would be searching. So I need to know the user intent for those important keywords, and then I should be using them properly. I mean, I'm writing for the readers. I'm not writing for search engines. Search engine are the one who's trying to understand what are the readers, right? So incorporate stories and emotions to pick your reader's intent. Yeah, if you're talking about say a story about how trends has changed, start using graph. If you're talking about trends, if you're talking about, say, I've seen one of few of my publishers use a lot of images to explain what is being spread, or one of our publishers would be doing a fact check, and then they will have a lot of tweet embeds explaining that what is the misinformation people are spreading, and then they will talk about each and every information misspread and then correct it to explain the user these are the different sources you can get the misinformation. So write the content from user, search engine will understand it. Then creating readable content, make the page skimmable. Breakup content, do I'm just repeating this again and again. Use multiple headings and subheadings. Utilize plenty of paragraph breaks. Have a proper spacing. List into bullets. Incorporate supporting image and other visuals. Use clear actionable sentences which talks about with authority that this is what the action you should be taking in your message. Last but not the least, creating the internal linking of the content. Basically, when you create content, you should have interlinking of other content. So if I'm talking about a demonetization story, again I'm taking that back example. If I'm talking about a demonetization story and I want to give a reference to another demonetization story or another story which is related to it, probably I should have an interlink of it, probably on the keyword itself, or I can have a read more. I can create different. So you as a publisher should have an interlinking of your articles, or as well as external articles, up to you. But as a search engine, when search engine comes to your website and see the keywords are having a meaning, internal link to something else, that keyword get more weightage, because the machines can understand, okay, the definition of this word is defined in this article, they will go check that article. So define, give relevant links to wherever possible. uh, Use follow, no follow, what is the text you are giving in anchor. Use absolute URLs when you are giving anchor links. That's easily discoverable. A lot of time we do mistakes of not using HTTPS, so that creates problems sometime for search engine to understand whether it's a relative URL, absolute URL. And use no follow as and when required. So if you are just taking a reference which is for an standard purpose, say I'm talking about government of India, I don't have to define government of India, I can still give a government link and use a no follow. So best to create your linking manually within the article, though we have an in Hocalwire we have an automatic logic of creating your indexes. And then you go check your webmaster again. If you're a content writer, see what keywords are working for you, focus on those keywords more. Check your crawl index report, see the pages, type of pages getting indexed most, work on those pages. Improve, remove faulty keyword. Improve, remove your amp errors, story formatting, embedding errors. Check for LCP issues because of images. A lot of time I've seen publishers using image sizes in MBs. There are compressors available in CMSs, but as an editor they would not mind or care about it. So do care about it. All these aspects end of day impact your SEO. I will take questions now. Vinod, can we have some questions if there are any? I think you're on mute, Vinod.
So I think there are a couple of questions, mostly from people whom we know. So I think Aman is asking about indexing in Google. I think it's good that we also talk about indexing a bit.
Yeah.
What impacts indexing and what are the ways in which to get indexed?
Yeah. So first is getting discovered, and then second aspect too is getting indexed. Getting discovered is something controlled by your technology, by your internal linking, by your sitemap. Uh, so basically, ensuring that Google understand about your web page is something. A lot of time we see crawled status. So crawled means Google know about this page. Crawled and index or crawled and not index is something defined by Google based on multiple factors. That could be based on your domain authority, that could be based on your page content, that could be based on your robots, whether you are blocking that page, that could be based on an alternate page is available for that indexing. So indexing is something totally controlled by Google. Crawling is something controlled by technology.
So another question, I think someone called Hindi Patel is asking. I think the assumption is, yeah, we need to have all posts in core Google Core Web Vitals in pass mode. And second question he's asking is how to improve CLS speed, CLS score.
Yeah, I have explained that in detail in the session, but let me rephrase. So there are multiple tools to test your core web vitals. End of day, we are building website for users. The actual user core web vitals are the one which are listed in your webmaster. If you go check your web speed using page speed inside or any other tool, understand all these testing tools are sitting outside India. They will have a different score compared to your webmaster. You should improve your webmaster core web vitals. I have explained how you can improve CLS. So if you should not have a layout shift, to avoid layout shift, if you're expecting a space to be taken by an ad or a font, or basically title or any component which is going to come a little late, give predefined space for that component so that the other component which are visible in the web page are not shifting. So if I'm assuming that I am putting an ad above the fold 300 into 250, I should ideally predefine that ad space height and width so that my other component on the page does not shift when that ad actually loads. So CLS can be improved that way. LCP can be improved using your CDN, by using smaller images, by using lesser fonts. There are multiple factors which contribute to LCP, and obviously the server response time as well. Next question,
Next is Shubham is asking what is the effect of preload or pre-connect on DOM load.
Okay, I am getting a bit technical on this now because it's a question from a techie. Uh, so understand, when we hit an URL and as soon as we receive the response from the server, the browser start rendering the page from top to bottom. So the first thing it gets, and if you see any web page response, the first thing you will see a meta called title. That means as soon as you get the response, that is the first thing get included in the DOM, and you start seeing your tab title change. So if we do pre-rendering or pre-connect, right? What it will happen is whenever there's resource encountered, suppose I'm displaying a title in the body. Now title needs certain fonts, title needs certain CSS to be rendered. If I include those CSS upfront, it may so happen that by the time I encountered a title, those resources are already loaded, and I can avoid that loading time because browser, when rendering from top to bottom, it will take few milliseconds. We can avoid those few milliseconds. I'll also want to point out from a technical aspects that Chrome generally, earlier can maximum do 6 parallel requests with 14 KB sizes. So if I'm having lot of resource assets or a lot of resources that are bigger in size, Chrome may take 4 to 5 round trips to download that resource, which may delay 300 millisecond, 400 millisecond the rendering of it. I can avoid that rendering of 400 milliseconds by including in top of header if I know this is required. So pre-rendering or pre-connect helps that way.
Yeah, to add to that point, I think pre-rendering also removes critical path. It reduces the critical path for an LCP and other things.
Right.
So it
Because as
improves a lot in LCP metrics.
yeah.
Okay. Azad Rati, how much time it will take to index news articles?
uh, Very difficult question to answer. Crawling is something you control. How much time it gets to crawl your article is depends on how frequently Google is visiting your website. As soon as visiting website, if your crawl budget is reduced, your website will be crawled. Crawled means it's available with Google. Whether Google shows in your index or not index depends on multiple factors which Google control, not your controlled by you. So a good website with good ranking platform generally get indexed in 2 to 3 minutes. Few websites takes days also.
Yep. So I think that's all questions, Ash. Uh, yeah, I
All
think it
right.
was a wonderful session. I think you shared a lot of insights from Hocalwire's perspective, also how we approach tech, and I think you elaborated on a lot of important points. I think it would have been a very wonderful session covering both technical as well as the content aspects of SEO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite important to explain the publishers that how tech works. There are hundreds of things goes into tech, and that gives them confidence on how things should be done. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for joining the session. See you in our next session soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vinod.